Good morning.
Hey, Seattle.
As always, it's your girls, Jasmine and Shantae.
Welcome to another Thursday morning and another episode of The Way with Jazz and Tay.
We'll be bringing you lots of laughs and class to get you ready for the day and the weekend ahead.
Will it be the way or not the way? Find out and join the conversation.
Hey guys, welcome to a special edition episode of The Way with Jazz and Tay. It's your girl, Jazz and
Shantae.
And this episode, we are bringing you guys something different. We wanted to break it down and talk about the election that is coming up in a couple days.
Yes.
3
days.
I know. Today we're 3 days away from the election. By the time this airs, it's literally going to be like probably a day before, and anxiety is going to be high. But we did invite a special guest and comedian, Justin Herman, on to bring some insight as well as comedic relief to this episode.
Because we all need that right now.
Yes. Before we formally introduce him, here's what you can expect for today's episode. Shantae?
So we're going to be talking with Justin today. We're going to play a fun icebreaker. We're doing an iteration of our Guess Who. This time we're going to be doing comedians, where we ask Justin... We're going to give him a bunch of fun facts about comedians and he has to guess them.
Yes.
It's going to be fun because I tried to make mine hard in the beginning.
And they're a
if
bit
he gets
obscure.
them off the first one, if you get it off the first clue I give, I'm going to be extremely impressed. Then we're going to discuss Justin's career in the entertainment industry as well as his career as a comedian. And we're going to talk more about his TikTok series where he roasted all 50 states, which is hilarious. If you have TikTok, you need to download it and watch it. My favorite is Oregon. My second favorite is Washington because it was so funny. Won't give any spoilers until we get to that. And then we're going to follow it up with our election day forecast. We're going to let you guys know who we think's going to win and what else we can expect to see after the fact.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm going to let you guys know now. You'd probably be surprised by my forecast. But now that you guys know what to expect, let us introduce our guest, Justin Herman. Justin, say what's up to the people.
What's going on, people? Nice to see you too as well. I was really hard not to talk during that whole intro. I struggled
immensely. Whenever we have guests and we do our intro, I'm like, we got them just sitting there waiting for their turn.
I know, right?
Right? Nope.
So Justin has worked in the entertainment industry actually for 15 years. He's a jack of all trades, a director, producer, and a writer for television and documentary films, which I think is extremely cool. I like to write. Let me run that back. In theory, I like to write. I like to say I like to write. I used to write in a different lifetime, but I think that that's really cool. And you're also you do stand up, but just not right now because of COVID.
Correct.
Okay, so he's an international stand-up comedian. You worked on House Hunters International, which I want to talk to you about because I love that show.
What were you doing on there?
I direct the series, so I'm one of them. They have a large roster of directors all over the world.
Are you kidding?
I'm one of them. Yeah, I've been working with them on and off for 10 years. It's a great show, real fun to direct. I always call it the Make-A-Wish TV show because it's everybody's favorite show, and then they get to be on it, and my job is just to teach them how to be on it before they die. That's pretty much the entire experience.
Oh my God.
That's hilarious.
I love it.
I love that show. I love every iteration of that show.
The island ones always get me.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, we just out here with island money. Okay.
Like what? You also took the opportunity during quarantine to make a TikTok series where you roasted all 50 states. And we're just excited to have you here and to have your perspective and insight. We're going to talk more about that TikTok series and when we get into it. But let's jump into our icebreaker.
Hit me.
I'm ready to have a little bit of fun.
Yes.
The best part about having two careers is every time I get one of these wrong, I'm going to be like, I'm a documentary filmmaker, so just chill out on the comedy stuff. Unless I nail it. And then I'm going to be like, yo, big time comic over here. This is the guy.
This is what I've studied for, Okay, I'm going to kick it off. This comedian got his start in a TV series called Undeclared in 2001. Many know him for his breakout role in a movie that starred a pimped out purple plane whose pilot happened to be Snoop Dogg.
So, quick questions. I gotta understand the parameters. Are we talking only stand-up comedians, or are we talking like comedy actors and as well?
Yes.
Mainly stand up, but they are also at all people
Right.
who have been in
Right.
television as well.
Understood.
That's
Cool.
a good question because I
Thank
didn't
you.
even think about
Well,
that.
it's funny because when I made the list, I had stand up in mind, but some of the hints are not stand up.
Yep.
Understood.
Based.
Understood. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so next clue on this one.
Okay.
He's pretty good friends with The Rock.
Is it Kevin Hart?
Yes. I didn't want to give you the next one because he's a
I
mere
knew it was Kevin Hart,
5'4".
the last one. No, that was it. That totally, yeah. I knew it was the last one, but I wasn't sure because of the
Yeah.
acting thing.
No, that totally
Fun
makes
fact.
sense.
Fun fact, he's got a special, he's got that 6-part Kevin Hart special on Netflix. It's like a documentary series.
Yeah.
And if you pause it at just the right time, you will see me in the audience at the Comedy Cellar.
No
Big TV break for me, guys. Yeah, it's huge.
Oh my
yeah,
God, that's so funny. We watched that.
So
We
cool.
actually
We
watched
did,
that.
Yeah.
I can
Which
send you the
episode?
clip. I have it scored to the Curb Your Enthusiasm soundtrack. Ridiculous.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Yes, we want to see that. For
I would
sure.
love to. Absolutely. Okay, are you ready for this next one?
I'm holding a pen. I'm so ready. I don't know
All
why,
right.
but I'm holding it. I'm ready.
Hey, whatever
Taking
it
notes.
takes. Whatever
Yeah.
it takes. This comedian got his start in the late 80s as a dayer and later toured as a blue collar kind of guy.
Interesting.
Is Jeff Foxworthy?
You may also known him as a car guy, maybe a tow truck to be specific. You're on the right track. One of
Larry the Cable Guy.
there we go. Hey, I didn't
Really,
want
so
to.
many rednecks. Yeah.
Well, and like the next one was gonna be one of his most favorite things to do is get her done, and that
Yeah.
that absolutely would have given it away.
You know that he was for a long time a comic that persona was not him for a long time in his career. He was just a
Yeah.
regular. He was like a guy like me that just nobody gave a shit about. And then one day he
Yeah.
was like threw on the accent and the persona and it took off.
That's
Okay.
it. That's what I learned like throughout this because he was
Yeah.
like hanging out with Jeff Foxworthy or whatever, and that was what like stuck.
So was he from the South, or?
I don't know
And he did
exactly where he's from.
yeah, I don't
If he's
know.
not, that is some pretty white guy appropriation.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
uncomfortable
really.
with, if I
Oh,
may be honest.
absolutely.
I was like, dang, he really leaned into that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because throughout that he did say he found out that he could do a really good Southern accent. So if he's not from the South, then
Interesting.
hey, I'm only half offended if that's the case.
I'm not offended at all.
Yeah, I could give less of a shit about this. Put down your fucking Confederate flag.
Right.
If you have any cultural value. Otherwise, just shut up.
Right?
Amen.
I was like, that was one time it was hot, and so I'm just gonna let.
We were talking about that. No, really, like that was a hot time to like appropriate American culture, redneck
Yes.
culture, with all
Yeah.
of that stuff going on. Oh, absolutely.
The trucker hats cut
Yeah.
off. What was that? A flannel?
Yeah.
Mhm,
That was like his favorite. That was like his outfit.
Yeah, it's like a sleeveless flannel,
Yes.
something. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just want you guys to
something.
understand. I lived in Florida during that era.
Oh, I'm
Oof.
sorry,
Yeah,
girl.
exactly.
I'm so sorry.
Ouch.
You know this
Right.
too well, yeah.
You lived
Every day,
that.
get her done.
Ugh.
Boom. Like, is it always every day? Okay. So this next comedian, this is a really obscure fact, so I'll be surprised if you get it off of this.
Cool.
This comedian born March 7th in Portsmouth, Virginia, started her professional career as a national security agent, where she worked for 5 years before performing her very first stand-up in 1987.
She she worked for like the national security, like the governmental agency.
Yeah.
Okay, I have no idea.
She's African American and is also really great friends with Ellen DeGeneres.
It's got to be Wanda Sykes, right?
It sure
Hey!
Yeah. I think I knew that about Wanda, but I didn't want to jump in and just sound like a total racist this early. Later in the pod, I'm fine with that, but it's too soon.
It's too soon.
Too soon to give that away.
That's so funny.
Yo, that's it. I wouldn't have gotten that with those clues. If I didn't see it in front of me, I would not have gotten it. I didn't know if they were friends.
I tried to give like a fun fact, like something you don't know about Wanda Sykes, but then I was hoping that the date that she started, or like just the dates in general, would give it.
Well, when you said her birthday, I was waiting for the year, because as soon as you say a year, I can suddenly like narrow it down.
Yeah,
I realized
certain,
now
like, active
I didn't say
years that people.
Yeah. It was 1967, I think she was born.
Wow.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because she is older. One of my biggest Wanda Sykes roles I remember is Monster-in-Law with J-Lo and Jane Fonda.
Oh yeah.
That was a good one.
Who was she in?
She was like Jane Fonda's like assistant. She was just there to play like the sassy black lady, essentially. You know.
Yeah.
All right. Next one. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Hit me.
She's ready to take your man and make you laugh at the same time. Recently bald, this comedian has been known for her loud personality and converting to Judaism.
She's Jewish now? Get the fuck out of here, dude. I can claim her? That's the dopest thing ever.
I knew you would like that.
Well, now we know why she's so funny. That's oh shit, I lost her name. I know exactly who she is. She's breakout role was that movie with those girls. Oh my god, I'm blanking out her name. She's so funny.
Okay, her first name is like that jewelry company that comes in the blue box.
Tiffany, I was gonna say Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
You're close. Come on.
Tiffany Haddish.
There we go.
I went full Saved by the Bell. I've never been whiter, I think, in my entire life. But going full Saved by the Bell trying to talk about Tiffany Haddish.
I'm dead.
I'm just gonna go now. I think that's probably
that was a great episode. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys.
That was hilarious. I was like, and he knows who she is. It's right there.
I could see it get there, and then I saw it left you. I saw it.
Yeah. I had it. I was like, I mean, I figured she'd show up too in this. I just had a sense.
Did you?
She's just too big of a personality to not think about. True. You know, she's just so dope. She's really awesome.
I wanted to try to throw in there too, like what she does with kids. Kids say the darndest things. I forgot that she was doing that now. Like, I love seeing her in that.
I love that for her. Yeah.
Could have mentioned she was in the show 50 Central on BET. That would have been a nice drop too, but you didn't.
Oh, I didn't. And, I don't think I knew that. I'm sorry.
It's a very small part. No, he lost all rights for people to watch his show, so you did the right thing.
Okay. Wow. Dang.
Yikes. Okay.
All right. You want to do one more, Tay?
Yep. This sometimes offensive comedian was actually born to a Presbyterian family in Germany before moving to Florida, which he jokes is the reason he got into comedy, because he thinks that Florida is flat, dumb, and hot.
I mean, every person on the planet thinks that.
I was just gonna say, that just sums up Florida in a nutshell.
You know, I mean, it's a pretty good summation. He also has stated that he has social anxiety that extends to a fear of public speaking. He is also known for his long-standing career on Comedy Central.
Was it Daniel Tosh?
There we go.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. And then my last one was like, he has been in hot water many times for making misogynistic and racist jokes.
Yep.
I thought that was going to give it away.
Daniel Tosh is honestly, and I hate his show on Comedy Central. No offense. Good for him. Great success. Everybody that makes it deserves it probably most of the time. It works his ass. But as a stand-up comic, he's actually so funny. Yeah. And he's a piece of shit. And he says piece of shit things. And I get why people are offended. But you're just missing the tongue in cheek if you are. He is so clever. He is so clever at how he does it. I'm actually really a big fan of his stand-up, surprisingly, because I hated his show for so many years.
I was gonna say, like, for starting off with something kind of negative, you said so many nice things.
Like,
yeah, he's so talented. Yeah.
I think I feel the same way. I've never when I more so listened to Daniel Tosh, I think I was too young to really understand kind of like how offensive like he was being. Mm-hmm. But I've always appreciated it because I did find it funny. Like, I always understood everything. Nothing ever really went over my head. I thought he was hilarious. But the subject matter, oh my god.
I feel like that's the thing with comedy is that like you have to realize that it's supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
So it's like even watching that like Dave Chappelle special,
and everyone
I was, like,
lost their shit about it
by a lot that he said, but I was like, but it's not wrong and it's funny.
But it's also Dave Chappelle. Like if it came from
anybody else,
it
would not have worked. But yeah, it's like it works for some people.
It's so funny how you talked about getting to know Daniel Tosh before you basically knew that you were supposed to be offended by things.
No,
And that
really?
pretty much sums up the comedy world. That's what we're dealing with, is that people are taught at such a young age to be offended by everything, and that they are, and it makes comedy worse, and it's the worst.
Yeah.
And it's to the point where I always joke that I can't wait to get canceled, because that's how I know I made it. Because
Exactly.
there's no options.
You pissed off enough people.
Yeah. You're either plain white redneck, or you go Larry the Cable Guy, or you go Daniel Tosh. They don't let you be anything else.
It's kind of like Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart was like America's sweetheart, and then the whole cheating scandal happened, and I was like, you guys, he's been a cheater for years. He said that in his stand-up, like many a times. This is the same guy we've been dealing with.
It's also, we put I can go on about celebrity culture for a lifetime, but we put these people on such a pedestal, and we treat everybody like it's a binary. You're either great or you're terrible, and this is such short-sighted, uneducated thinking, and the fact that we let this permeate our culture and our debates and our politics is insane.
That's why I don't really believe in cancel culture anymore.
I hate
because
it.
of that. It's like, everybody makes mistakes. As long as you learn and grow from them, it can be what it is. But also at the same time, if you are a comedian, you know what you're doing as an artist making these jokes.
Really quick, is Lil Wayne canceled?
I hope so. I don't think I got cred. I don't think I'm allowed to be the guy. If I'm like, Lil Wayne is canceled, no one's gonna listen like this.
I know, right? Oh, Justin said he's canceled, I guess.
Well, the Jewish community is pissed.
I mean, I don't know. Lil Wayne, to me, I've been worried about him for a while. Right. I don't necessarily think he's somebody who I would go to for politics.
Such a good point.
He's had like his lean abuse problem. He only made it on one episode of The Masked Singer, and like that was embarrassing. I feel like as an artist, he did rock music. Anyways, he only did one episode of The Masked Singer as a musical artist. I mean, that's embarrassing. And then now you're taking photos with Donald Trump and it's not even like it's the beginning of Donald Trump's presidency, where it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe he'll learn. Dude, you've been through this now for 4 years, and you're still gonna sit up here and smile with this man?
I mean, Lil Wayne, you listen to him slur his speech, he sounds like he's just like 2 sentences away from a full-blown stroke. So it's totally not surprising that he's into a mentally ill president, but like it's still incredibly disappointing. How much information do you need? What else do you need? Do you need nonpartisan websites that tell you that he's lied over 20,000 times in 4 years? Because there's many of them. Do you need a record of how many times he was sued before he was president? That's over 3,500. It's a lot of. I don't think Bill Gates has been sued 3,500. Like, how many black people did he have to kick out of tenements in the 1970s before you're like, this guy might not like us very much? It just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make a lick of sense. And all of those,
like a lollipop,
right?
We're gonna reach Lil Wayne,
right?
We're reaching out. Come back to us, my friend.
Please. We lost him somewhere. I don't know when, but
okay, one more, just because it's the very last one. Okay.
Okay, hit me.
And then we'll move on.
I got my pen.
This Aussie, excuse me.
What happened to
Jim Jeffries? No, walking away.
Right.
Can't beat it.
Mic drop. That's the one. You're very wrong.
Oh yeah.
This Aussie is not afraid to be blunt or inappropriate. Once, while hosting the MTV Movie Awards, she proposed that Zac Efron deliver her a kiss down under.
She's an Australian stand-up comedian?
Not only is she a comedian, but she can sing. And though her pitch might not be perfect.
Are you talking about the Pitch Perfect girl? She's not a stand-up comic, is she?
I thought she had a stand-up.
Really?
I think so. Oh God, now I'm embarrassed.
No, she might be. I mean, I could be wrong. She's not. I'm not her audience. Let's put it that way. So I don't.
I actually know she's done stand-up.
I'm sweating now.
I mean, there's a reason why I can come out the gate yelling Jim Jeffries, because there's only 2 Australian stand-up comics. I've performed in Australia. I know all the Australian stand-ups. There's only 2 that any other American knows, and it's him and Hannah Gadsby, if you're lucky.
I don't know. I feel like maybe she might have very briefly done.
She definitely has that personality where she's got that
yeah.
overconfident, stand up, big energy. It could be
Right.
true. I'll give it to you. I'll take the
Oh,
on
thank
that one.
you.
Like,
Thank you
yeah.
so much.
Totally. It's your game. I mean, you should be pretty much calling the rules. I don't know why I am, but I'm taking it over.
I know,
He's like,
right?
I
It's
wanna win
challenging
this.
us. Is that even a stand-up? You guys, get out of here.
A comedian as a broad.
We're firmly making up the rules as we went along. We all
But-
realize that. So
I do very much remember that her hosting the MTV Movie Awards because it was
Yeah.
very cringe. Like
yes,
she didn't do a very good job. I didn't feel like, and
which makes me think she's not a stand-up comic.
you know,
It's a different. Listen, I've done every form of comedy. I've done it all. I've done sketch, and I've done improv, and I've been on front of camera. Listen, I've been on stage and musical theater. I've done every form of performing, and none of it is stand-up. You know, it's stand-up
that's
is
a very good point.
it's a language. It's like speaking
Yeah.
Spanish, and if you don't speak it regularly, you lose it like anything. And if you've
mm.
never been fluent in it, and then you walk on stage and you try to be funny like a Spanish speaker. That's not the metaphor is falling apart, but you get the idea. Like
yeah. No, really, because that's kind of how I felt. Or like maybe she was just trying a little bit like too hard. It felt like it was
Yeah.
all a little
Probably
bit just
that.
too like cheesy. She was way too like I understand vulgarity is your thing,
Sure.
but she was a little bit just over the top through and through the whole time.
Yeah.
And you
can-
Yeah, we've all seen vulgarity that works, and you get why it works because it's a craft, and some vulgarity for the sake of is not a craft. You know, Amy Schumer is a craft that
I almost put
Right.
her on the list.
I like her.
I was trying to give a mix of people, like
mhm.
Larry the Cable Guy, Wanda Sykes. I was like, give me some black comedians.
I was gonna say, I feel like
Mhm,
any on a normal day, we probably would have done all black comedians.
Yeah, I was like, we were prepping. I was asking our other roommate. I was like, do you know any like white women comedians? I was like, why do I not know any?
I do want to
And Amy
say,
Schumer was the
I
only
can honestly
person.
introduce you to some brilliant, like the next wave of the best female comics. They're
Okay.
brilliant. Just
Actually,
brilliant.
yes, we would love
Yeah.
that.
What is your favorite kind of comedy to perform?
Yeah.
Stand up, I think, is I like performing in any facet, but stand up is just. I got into stand up when I was 30. I started real late, and it was mostly because I just wanted to become a better comedy writer. I'd been writing for Comedy Central, short form content sketches. I was a comedy writer on like a lot of like nonfiction shows. Like I was a comedy writer on an Animal Planet fishing show. You know, like these like strange alty comedy things. And
Yeah.
I wanted to be like late night level writer, so I started doing stand up just to be better. And I fell in love with it for a lot of reasons, which completely surprised me. But mostly it's because it helped me figure out what's the most interesting thing for me to talk about. And it really teaches you a lot about yourself in so many ways. And it's a version of me. It's the closest version of me, which is why I can turn it on at any time. And it's the most honest version of me of all the forms of comedy. And I love being silly and stupid and sketch comedy. And it's all good, but stand-up comedy is a special art form. And when it lands, it is the best
I was
feeling
gonna
in the world.
say, I feel like stand-up has to be extremely hard.
Yeah,
I don't
'cause-
think I could ever get up in front of a.
I
group
just
of
think
people.
about that from a performer's wow. I'm not speaking
Perspective.
English. Performer's perspective, because I
Yeah.
grew up dancing, and like you
Mm.
can feed off of like the cheers from the crowd, and like you can tell when they're digging it. And so it's like as a stand-up, it's probably the same kind of thing. Like you can
Big
tell
time.
when the audience is eating it
Yeah,
up.
If they laugh,
versus,
if they
like,
don't laugh, I wouldn't like if they weren't laughing at my jokes. I don't think I'd have the heart to continue.
right? It's
I'd be like, well, it's been great,
I'm
guys.
thrown off my
bye."
game.
I mean, you learn how to bomb. There's nobody that you listed on that list that didn't learn how to bomb the hard
Yeah.
way. You have to learn. It's part of the process, man. It's interesting. It's exactly like performing as in part of a dance troupe. Only you're the soundtrack. You're all of the dancers. You're every aspect of the entertainment. You're every beat and every moment, and the silence is yours to deal with. And you can use silence, and you can also fear silence, and those are two very different approaches. But you have to get used to it. Either way, whatever your thing is, it's a rhythm. Like the TikTok videos, the roast jokes. Like I put those together more about rhythm than I did about individual jokes, because it's all about rhythm and pacing. I mean, when you make a TV show, it's all about rhythm and pacing. Like you can only hit so many punchlines so fast before there's a laughter fatigue or a mental fatigue. So that's we call it peaks and valleys in storytelling, where like you can't keep punching the the hottest moment, the most
Right.
exciting moment, or you get bored. You got to kind of bring it down to bring it back up, and you can only get bigger by bringing it down first. It's that roller coaster effect. So
Man.
it's in the stand-up, any way you build a set, the way you try to build laughter, you try to build on momentum. So this summer, performing in New York City, it was all outdoor shows. It was in parks and it was in backyards, and it was fun. But it is when you don't have a low ceiling and tables smashed together, it's not the same art form, because you can't build the same momentum. And it was great to get back out there, but it's very different than the classic club experience. You can't replace that.
At least you're using it so you don't lose it.
Indeed. I'm gonna crush it at the MTV Movie Awards. That's all I'm saying.
So let's just continue this conversation of, your life as a comedian and as well as in the entertainment industry. We've kind of been asking this question to anybody that comes on the show because it's what's happening to us right in this very moment. But like, how has COVID-19, or how have you seen COVID-19 affect the entertainment industry at large? And like, how has it affected you specifically?
Personally, yeah.
I mean, it's tremendously across the board. When this happened, I was the co-executive producer of a Netflix international travel show when COVID hit, and I literally circumnavigated the globe at the beginning of 2020, chasing COVID around the world by accident. I was in Asia in January, Europe in February, back in North America in March before we finally pulled the plug. So it was just, I've been wearing masks since January. I've been acutely aware of this thing for a long time.
Yeah.
And I've also always had 2 full-time jobs. It's always been TV and stand-up. I ran my own production company on the side while I also was a gig, producer for hire. And,
do you sleep?
Not enough.
Gosh.
Yeah, I just my friends don't exist. That's how you do it. But this is the first time. I mean, COVID, like we, shut down the travel. I still can't direct House Hunters International because no country will let us in. So it shut down a huge part of my career. Still to this day, it also shut down both of my careers at the same time, which is something that hasn't happened to me in 10 years. So it was a very interesting transition to suddenly having all the free time in the world. In a pandemic, in a 500 square foot apartment, in the hot spot of and being jet lagged for 4 months trying to recover from this show.
Right. So about that show, so like you were in Asia when all of this started to kind of pop up, and I know like we in your bio, you kind of said that you kind of saw how we were going to botch it. Like, what were you seeing, and like, how did you know? I mean, already we kind of knew when we weren't taking it seriously in January.
I mean, having Trump as our president, I knew we weren't going to do well. But
But I mean, even if you replaced, listen, if we had real leadership, it would have been a completely different story, and we wouldn't have 230,000 people dead. I think we would have struggled because Americans are still Americans. What I saw working so well is countries like South Korea. They know how to perform for the common good. Like they understand, they're willing to be locked down. They're willing to listen to their government lead and tell them what they should and shouldn't do because they understand it's for the greater good than themselves. And in America, we're this individualistic American dream, selfish cowboy culture. And we don't have the ability to think about people other than ourselves. It's a cultural thing. I think reality TV has enhanced it, but it's existed long before then. I really do think it's cowboy culture. It's this individualism. It's why America was such an isolationist country before their world wars, is because we were like, we don't need anybody else. We can do whatever the hell we want. That was down to the individual. And so, I mean, when COVID took off in America and they shut down, they would do these governors calls where the governors would call with the White House. They do calls with the White House, all the governors around the country, and asking what they should do. And the White House's messaging was, we're going to take a step back and let the states handle it.
I remember that. No, literally, I remember that. And then
it's China's fault.
But then you also saw, you could, like, because of that happening, you saw which states it was working and versus the states that didn't do anything and all that stuff. And then it was so easy for him to place the blame, Well, I don't have anything to do with this. It's the governor's fault.
It's a tremendous lack of it's like amazing. Like it really, like I'm trying to remember the exact numbers, but during World War II, I think the rate at which we churned out things like warships, like boats and planes. I think the fastest boat ever produced was like 3 days, and we were making them like 2 a day. during World War II. Like, or probably not boats, it's probably planes. And I actually have this, I literally wrote this down somewhere because I didn't want to lose it. And I'll find it at some point during this conversation to correct myself. But like, when we have the ability and the leadership, we are able to do things that have never been done before.
Oh yeah.
And that's just that's the American spirit that everybody likes to invoke. But when you have no leadership, you do nothing. And we're gonna need. My whole thing about Biden in the primaries, I like Biden. I don't think he's a bad dude, but he's past his prime in so many ways.
Amen.
But he's a good guy, and he listens to other people, which is the most important thing. But even when he kind of took over and kind of was clearly running away with the primary, and he was the least progressive guy on that stage, despite the fact that he now has the most progressive presidential campaign of any one in the history of America. So like, it's not like it's nothing. But the reality is we're going to need a 1929 Great Depression style New Deal at some point in the next couple of years, because we are going to keep tanking as a country. People are going to keep dying. And he's the kind of person that will acknowledge that and hopefully do something about it. And without that, we're doomed. And that's the big thing that nobody's thinking about.
And I completely agree with you. I don't think that Biden was like my first choice when, he entered into the election race or whatever, or run for president.
And Obama didn't immediately
I was
endorse
for Bernie,
him.
and I was kind of looking at Elizabeth Warren because my own self-interest. I wanted to get rid of my student debt. And we were talking about that.
She's dope. I mean, you're right. You're right.
And so, but I knew the reality that Bernie was never going to become president because he's too socialist for Republicans, and we needed Republicans to come to blue side to even get Trump out. And I was like, well, the only person on this docket that can do it is Biden. And that's what I knew. And I think that that's what a lot of people really need to realize is that this is politics. Yeah. It's not about who you like. It's about our country. And again, like you said, we're all individualistic. Like, a lot of people don't want to in the Black community, a lot of Black people don't want to vote for Biden because he's racist or he's supported racist bills in the past. And I'm like, one, people evolve and change. And two, Trump is no better. And three, again, it's politics. And right now, our country as a whole is a whole mess. And you have to think outside of the Black community just for like 0.5 seconds so that hopefully we get somebody in here who's willing to listen to the issues that we're trying to fight for.
Also, Biden's going to live for another 4 to 6 weeks. And then you got Kamala behind him and you got a Black woman running the country. How dope is that? Like, what else do you need? I mean, he's giving you everything he can.
I just love that everybody else says it. I hinted at it a few episodes ago, and I don't want to wish death on him, but
I don't either. Of course not. Of course not. Yeah.
If something happens, anything could happen.
Yeah. By the way, it took 5 days to build a ship, is what it was during World War II.
5 days, jeez.
And then we got up to 2 ships a day. That's how much that's how much we reshaped the industry of shipbuilding for the sake of this war. We could have had PPE day one if we had leadership. He could have done so many things, and so many people wouldn't have died out the gate. So many people would have been infected. So, anyways,
I think
as we digress.
The whole question in general about like the fact that we're gonna have to do something to really supercharge our economy again, and like there's gonna have to be some like jobs created, and Trump doesn't take climate change or anything in that realm like seriously, and every time Biden talks about it, it's like all these jobs that it's gonna create, and that's where I'm like, yeah guys, because I'm just kind of wondering like it's never going to be the same for us.
No.
So I'm just kind of thinking like, where are we going to put all these people that are in the service industry, or like, how is that going to change? Like, where are people going to have jobs?
I've got a couple.
If we don't create some,
I have a couple ideas on how we could like jumpstart some things.
Well, keep it to yourself because we're running for president when we're.
Save it.
But these are like immediate changes that are like already exist.
Okay.
Legalizing weed on a national level.
Top number one.
And 100%. Prostitution.
Yep.
Sex work.
Oldest profession on earth. I mean, that's
for real.
100%.
In other countries, there are ways that they do it, and it's like it's an organized business kind of thing,
I don't. None of that. I just kind of like.
Those are just two that were immediately top of mind, quick fixes that'll generate lots of jobs and money.
Yeah. I mean, we're by just pushing everyone into OnlyFans, we're already basically legalizing it. So yeah, I mean, that's literally. I mean, that was such an obvious joke when all this started, and it paid off so dramatically. It's
seriously, no, absolutely.
Listen, I'm literally interviewing people that are experts on the history of work and the future of work for this project I'm making right now. literally spoke to like a postdoctorate who's like worked in call centers for 6 months to understand the call center culture and is working with like the gig economy. You know, these are big, I'm like literally speaking to some of the smartest people on the planet about this stuff, universal basic income and all these things. And the reality of the world and the reality of history is that things always change. You know, that's the problem between liberal thinking and conservative thinking, is that conservatives believe that the rules have been written, that we're done, that we have the 10 commandments, stop changing shit, we got it, we're ready to move on and live our lives. And the world, you were always on the wrong side of history when that's how you think. And a liberal thinker by definition doesn't understand. They accept that they don't have all the answers. And they need to balance each other out, because if you just keep trying to be progressive all the time, you're going to exhaust people with all the pronouns you invent. But the thing is, you need a balance. But we will always keep progressing. That's literally the definition of humanity, is progress.
We don't want to stay where we're. Yeah,
same?
nobody does.
Yeah. White people on farms do. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, you know, and it's not even like that they're bad people.
Yeah.
And it's not even that it's political. Being a conservative-minded thinker is a way that people think. And whether or not you're politically oriented, it's a thing. And the reality is that if you think that way, you're eventually going to be wrong.
And those are the people who I worry about, because those are the ones that like their fear change, and they love to keep things, you know, old fashioned, or like, you know, those are the ones that look down upon, I feel like, most, to be honest,
because it's like a fear of like becoming obsolete, or
yeah,
you know.
It's called cognitive dissonance. It's cognitive dissonance is this idea that you can't have more than one idea in your head. So having a duality of opinions in your own mind, which is that I believe that the 10 commandments are the only rules we ever need, or the Constitution should never change, despite the fact that we created a process called amendments to change the Constitution. You know, and then the other side is like, well, we need to change things because, you know, women aren't giving birth in farm sheds and hay anymore, and maybe there should be different laws in the way, you know, like these are two.
We don't have
some people. It's an education thing at the end of the day. Like, you have to learn how to think with multiple ideas in your head at once. These people don't, and then they get defensive because they have this dissonance. They anything else couldn't possibly exist that contradicts what they believe, and it's scary. And the Republicans have spent 40 years defunding education in this country so that people are dumber and easier to manipulate, and here we go.
And look at where it got us.
Yeah.
Case in point.
So now that we've kind of gotten on like a political tangent, I love this.
Supposed to be funny? I forget.
No, you were. You had some good ones in there. I did want to ask you, like, what has been your favorite project to work on in your career? If that's too broad of a question, then in like the last year, what's been your favorite project?
I can't. That's such a hard question to answer. I mean, 50 Central was one of my favorite shows I ever worked on, just because it was an impossible schedule, and it was but everything was, it was sketch comedy. It was a great team. It was great writers. It was everything about it was just like the showrunner, this guy named Ian Gelfand, who's such a good dude to work with, and he's brilliant comedically, and so everything about it was like exceptionally fun, and there was never a moment where I was overworked in a way where I wasn't excited about it. I just, you know, comedy is that's my first language. It's the thing that feels the least amount like work, but that's probably, that used to be my answer. Travel shows are often pros and cons, but getting to see the world and getting paid for it. I mean, my whole mantra in life is either make people laugh or teach them about the world. Those are the only things I really want to do myself. And so any opportunity about that is a dream. But the project I'm doing right now, which I can't tell you everything about because it hasn't been announced yet, but it's like a big streaming platform project about basically trying to understand aspects of the future. And it's the most exciting thing I've probably ever worked on.
Oh, that's really cool.
Just intellectually. And it also could be the fact that I've been stuck in the same stupid four walls for so long that any ideas that aren't written on the wall on my dry erase board are great comparatively. But honestly, I think it's been a really reinforcing project in terms of trying to understand where we're going, what my existing ideas are. And it's just been incredibly educational, and I think it'll be a really spectacular project. I can't wait to be able to tell people actually what it's about.
I know, we'll be looking forward to it.
Thank you for answering that, because that was actually a question as well. I was like, do you have any projects that you can tell us about? But without giving anything away. That's really cool.
No.
And I love that you said also that, like, it was not Comedy Central, it was 50 Central.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The show's called 50 Central,
you worked a lot, but you never got tired of it. It was just so much fun. I feel like that's one thing that a lot of people are missing in their day to day, their 9 to 5. I personally, speaking for myself, feel that way at times, and it's just kind of like, when am I gonna find that thing that like I can just do this and I'm not tired of it because I love it so much. I know I feel that way often with the podcast.
Absolutely.
But when you work a full-time job, also it's like not so much.
Dude, and I'm a freelancer, so it's the same vibe, which is that I can do this maybe for 4 months, 6 months, 9 months, but eventually that job ends and you go on to something else, and there's an abusive boss and a garbage team and a bad idea, and you get stuck. I mean, I made a sketch show for True TV called Almost Genius in 2016. I got to direct all these sketches with an incredible cast, people that went on to be on Broadway and really good comics, and brilliant cast, great writers. Terrible show, one of the worst shows. I think the current IMDb rating is 1.2 stars. That's out of 10. I mean, really, just not a good. We did not make a great show, but it was so fun to make, and it was just a network that didn't know what they wanted, and an idea that didn't come to fruition. But we made some okay stuff, but for the most part, it was terrible and still so much fun to make because it was that language. It was getting to talk in my terms and execute on these things at that kind of a high level of doing the thing that I love. And it's hard to walk away from that, but it's so exciting to know that it can come back.
Yeah.
What?
Look at you.
No, that was great. I'm sorry. I was like, keep going. Keep going.
I can't. I will talk too much. So feel free to interrupt.
I understand that.
I was trying to pass the, not the baton, the microphone.
Yeah.
I went track-minded there just for a second. So with House Hunters International, so like earlier you said that you travel a lot. And so with House Hunters International, were you traveling for like each episode, or do you do like travel in order to research, or how does that work out?
It's most TV shows, you got to think of it like a factory. That's how most TV shows are made. There's an assembly line. There's the pre-production, production, and post-production. And House Hunters is a quintessential factory where there's a pre-producing team that does the casting, and they do the initial research, and they kind of get the backstory of who these people are and what the houses are going to be that you're going to look at, and kind of prep all that stuff. And then I am the director that they hand that to pretty much the day before I get on a plane. And then I get on a plane and I land and I meet the people for the first time, and I talk to them about the process. And then we spend 5 days shooting the show. And then I go home, I write up a lot of notes, and I hand those to the post-production team. And they take my notes, they take that footage, and they edit the show together.
Okay. So you're not like international for like months at a time?
No. So the Netflix show I was doing before COVID was an exception to the rule, because typically most shows don't do that unless they're really more immersive documentary shows. But if it's a travel show, you go out and you come back. Every now and then you do 2 at once. So like in House Hunters, I once did Lisbon and the south of Italy. I did these 2 different episodes back to back because I was already in Europe. So, but it's usually not much more than that for a traditional travel show. For the Netflix show, we were supposed to spend 8 months pretty much straight on the road. Wow. It was going to be insane. And so in some ways, COVID did me a favor because I needed a nap.
Right. Traveling is fun, but like also if you've done it for a while, like just plane to plane to plane or different modes, it's like, I'm over this.
Well, you're a nomad, you're like, where's home? You
want your bed.
Get homesick, I'm sure.
You want just
I've traveled my whole adult life, so I love living out of suitcases. Like I don't hate it. I love hotels. I love Airbnbs. This was literally a show about the coolest Airbnbs in the world. So we were literally filming at like $20,000 a night chalets in Japan, hostels in Bali. We were on a private island in the Bahamas when COVID became like a national emergency in America.
Oh my God.
So like there was some juxtaposition of the world and where we were that was just so spectacularly ridiculous. But at the same time, it's also when you change time zones every 3 days, you don't know who you are anymore.
You're like, what day is it today? Did I eat?
That's so interesting because I really love to travel. Like I love traveling. If I could just be nowhere, like I don't have a home base, that would be amazing. But I always am upset because I don't know how to pack, and I don't like being in the airport I don't like being in the airport. I don't like that whole part of it. I'm like, I just want to be in my destination, enjoying
Dude,
myself.
Right.
Do you want me to
All my
hack
stuff.
this shit for you? Because I can
Yes.
change your goddamn life.
Here we go.
Buy
Put
stuff
us
when
on
you get
game.
there.
Yeah. Step one, Amex Platinum card. There's multiple credit cards that do this. They're like $400 a year, but you get free lounge access to any international airport. So suddenly, when you can go to a lounge at an airport with Wi-Fi that's going to guarantee to work and free snacks and drinks and
changes
coffee and beer,
everything.
changes everything. You can bring guests on them too. And then number two is packing squares. I just finally got into them after all these years, but there's literally these, I can get them and show them to you. They're literally like different size squares that you can like, you put your clothes in. Hold on, we're doing it. We're going full
yeah.
I
pack.
know. I'm
square.
like, I need a
The
visual.
one that
Yes.
you like vacuum pack.
So it's not even, you can vacuum pack, but you don't even
Oh.
have to. You can get different colors, different sizes. I full on labeled it because I'm a producing nerd, but like I'll label my thing. So like socks, underwear. So when I'm showing up after traveling nonstop, I can flip open the suitcase and then there's like
It's
6
like-
bags to grab from, and you can figure out where stuff is. You can prep a whole
Yeah.
outfit, put it in a bag, then you just pull that out, throw it in your backpack. It's a game changer.
Packing squares.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
I already noted it.
because here's the thing, I always end up just like going there, it's a little bit more organized and coming back, and then it's like, how do I not have space? Where did I lost my shoes somehow.
No.
Like,
Yep.
I am the worst because I never know how I'm gonna feel once I get there. So I pack like 2 outfits for every day.
Yeah.
And I only wear like 3 things.
The
And I'm
last-
like, why did you write all of this?
this last time that Shantae left, she had to like take some stuff out of her bag.
Yes.
Because it was too heavy.
My bag was 20 pounds over. She
20.
was like, yeah, we
Jesus.
can't even like do this as
That's
an
a small
overweight.
child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have another bag to put this stuff in. So like I stuffed it all in my backpack. I was going through the airport with like 3 to 4 bags on me and
Mhm.
like had to like have those under my seat. And I was like, I don't ever want to do this again. Like,
You get better at it. So I had to pack. What did I pack for? A friend of mine just like booked a hotel in New York the other day. We're just like, let's get the hell out of our apartments. It was
No,
like
for sure.
$70.
Absolutely.
And it was awesome. And it's the best thing you can do to break up the craziness of COVID, in my opinion. Because it's not that expensive. But I packed like a whole suitcase because we wanted to bring tons of like stuff and toys, and we brought like all these onesies and costumes, and we're just so silly and dumb. But I couldn't remember how to pack. It was one night, and I was like, I've done this in 6 months, and I don't know what I'm doing. I brought so much stuff. I did exactly what you did. I literally had a baby in that bag, and I don't know why. I don't know how that got there. I mean, it was just insane.
one night, I don't know what I'm gonna want to wear. Let me put 5 things in here.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't forget anything.
Half
It
of my
was-
luggage ends up being socks and underwear.
Yep.
I know.
Always.
When you have to travel for 8 months, it's also a different conversation too, because you end
Oh,
up
yeah.
figuring out what are the barest scents. You really have to, and
Yeah.
in a way, it's great.
Mhm.
Like I found these yoga pants at Lululemon that look like nice regular pants because I was sick of wearing sweatpants like a hobo on an airplane, and it was gonna be working. So I bought these pants, and they were so good. I bought a second pair of them while I was on the road, and that's all I wore pretty much. 2.5
Nice.
I've
straight
heard
months.
great things about Lululemon pants because they
Everybody.
can look like regular pants.
Yeah.
Really.
So, dude, I have
Athletic.
not put on jeans in 8 months, 10 months. I mean, why would I? I'm in COVID, but quarantine, but game changer. So you find stuff like that, and suddenly you're not packing 6 pairs of jeans because you don't know what color you're gonna wear. Or you have 1 pair of pants,
Right.
then you bring like a backup something, and then you have only 2 colors to match it to, and all of a sudden you pack a lot less.
Mm.
Right.
Amen to that.
I went to Atlanta not too long ago, probably about a month ago now, and I was there for a month, and I just packed so much because I didn't know what the weather was gonna be like.
Yeah.
Because like I knew I was like, I'm gonna be there into October. I was like, it's cold here in October, so I started packing some like winter stuff. It was 80 degrees up until
Like the whole
And I
time.
was like, oh my gosh. There was like maybe 2 days where it was cold and I needed a coat. And like I ended up going to buy a coat because I didn't bring a coat. But like I brought sweaters. And so I was like, if it does get cold, all I'll need is a sweater. But it was like too hot for a sweater, but chilly enough for like a light coat. And I was like, I can't. This is,
Yeah.
this is too much.
layers, thinking
You know?
layers. It's the
Yeah,
only way to do
right.
it. You
Oh
literally,
my
I'll bring
gosh.
7. I was in a hill station in India like 10 years ago, and it was India. You don't pack for snow in India, but I ended up in this place that was like in the Himalayas pretty much, and it was freezing, and I had tank tops and a t-shirt and then a long sleeve shirt and then a second long sleeve shirt and then a hoodie and then the one light jacket that I wore on the plane when I flew to and from that I never thought I would wear again. And I had like, I just put on literally everything I had to survive. It's how you have to think every time, otherwise you're gonna end up aborting half of your belongings and
unprepared.
yeah.
Last question before we kind of run into our
I was gonna
forecast.
bring up the TikTok
Yeah,
roast.
that's what
Yeah,
I
I
was
was
going.
like,
We're on the same
we
wavelength.
need to talk about that
Yeah.
because we're like going through and we're listening, and I'm just find myself cracking up
Yes.
at some of the shit. Like the Arkansas had me dead.
Oregon.
You did the Alaska one. Oh my god, I was like, okay, so he's just counting down, and then you went on. I was like, oh, it got worse. Oh my god.
I also loved how informational some
Yes,
of them were. Like,
that's the other
one
thing.
about Virginia and West Virginia, Alaska's. I was like, I didn't know they paid people to live here.
They do, yeah. I
It's like
saw
a
something.
stipend.
I saw something about that not too long ago where it was like, I don't know what exactly the agreement was, but there was something about like, they'll pay you $20,000 for like the year or something if you like move out there, or it was something of like a monthly amount to live in.
I think it's less than that, but it's a stipend because they have so much oil that they're ripping out of the ground. They use that money to give it back to the people. It's that frontiersman idea. It's like if you're gonna live on the land and we're gonna keep ripping out the land, you can have a piece of it. Pretty much, it's kind of cool.
You know
Also more men than women. So you guys, there's something going on up there. That's all I'm saying. They all have beards, like real beards. But if you can get past that, and then probably the smell.
Wait. The women have beards?
Everybody. Yeah.
I
Sarah
don't.
Palin, she just combs it back. She either the tuck under or the.
In the last job that I worked, actually, a lot of the people that worked there were from Alaska.
Really?
They are weird.
Mm.
They are not, and I don't want to say they're not normal, because what is normal?
Right.
Like, you can absolutely 100%. Oh, that makes sense. Once I found out, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, you
That's
are
funny.
from Alaska, because why else would you be the way that you are?
I was just talking
Yeah.
about what's the real estate looking like out there. I could use a monthly
That's what I'm,
stipend.
for sure. Yeah. No, it's first of all, you guys just complimented pretty much everything that I love about the series, so we're gonna be friends forever. I hope you know that. Because that's like literally those are the most fun things for me, which was like my Illinois joke, which was like this long rant about the history of Lincoln becoming an abolitionist and losing to the Senate.
The
and
white
becoming
guilt.
president. Yeah.
That was the one. I was like brushing my teeth, and I was like, what?
Yes.
So did you just know these facts beforehand, or did you make sure that you were like, okay, I found some fun facts, let me make this shit hilarious, and then do it?
So it was really just I wanted a writing exercise. TikTok was really great for me during quarantine because I'm not good at just making something off the cuff and throwing it online because I do this professionally, so I have all these like stupid perfectionist standards that I get obsessed with, and then I don't finish things. And it's really the worst thing you can do as a creative is be a perfectionist, because all it is self-censoring. And so TikTok became a really good outlet that I use specifically for that exact purpose, which is enough. Justin, get the fuck out of your way. Start this podcast and just put stuff out there.
Yeah.
And so I started throwing old stand-up jokes up there that I would repurpose for TikTok, and then eventually my brain was melting and I wanted to write something. So I sat down and I wrote like maybe 15 roast jokes for 15 states, and then I figured out what 5 maybe fit together. What's the rhythm? What's the different regions? I kind of found my first favorite 5 and I put it up, and it did pretty well. So I was like, okay, well, I've already read some other ones, so maybe I'll put together a part 2. I didn't even know if I was going to finish it. It was just kind of like, let's just try something.
Yeah.
And once I got into it, I was like, well, as soon as I did 2 parts, I was like, well, now I got to finish this damn thing. And that's when it started to change. So part 3 is the first time where you start to see a rhythm of like more like, is when I started to call back the states. Like I did the Kansas joke where Kansas sucks so much. Kansas City is in Missouri. And then the Missouri joke was Missouri. I don't remember what it was. It was making fun of Kansas. It was Missouri, where the famous expression is, "We're not in Kansas anymore. We can tell because these people know how to read."
Right.
I don't know why I was shitting on Kansas.
Okay,
it worked.
Arkansas.
I wanna ask you about the one where I think it was like Wyoming, the Idaho of Montana or something, or is that what it was? What?
Yeah, something like that.
Like,
I don't know.
but like it made sense though. Like it works.
I don't understand why that's funny. I debated that one for a long time.
No, but it's like I get it though, because it's all right there.
Yeah. I had a bunch of those, and I was gonna do a series of them until they started to make more sense. And then that for me it got confusing. So I was like, nobody's ever gonna follow what's happening, and I ended up just using that one. But yeah, they got harder as I went along because it's one thing when you have 50 different premises where you can 50 different places that you can try to
Right.
write jokes about.
Mm-hmm.
But I got rid of all the ones that I like that were easy real fast. And suddenly I was like, well, I gotta fucking learn about Mississippi. No, I'm gonna call it the football in the groin of states and move on. You know, it was like sometimes I bailed out. And again, that joke happened solely because I had like a couple jokes that had some sort of structure to them, and I needed something quick and silly. I needed to like let the air out because I was like building tension to punchline. Let's just wipe the slate clean, and then we can go back to something more serious. So pacing, that was just a huge part of that series as I went along, because it mattered. It made the jokes funnier, and I thought the pacing sometimes was funnier than some of the actual jokes.
Yeah.
Connecticut, where white people go to die. California, where vegans go to die. Just yes.
Did you do one for Kentucky?
Yes.
You did? I missed it.
We watched it.
That was which one was the Kentucky one?
So Kentucky I didn't actually make fun of Kentucky, which is a shame because fuck you, Mitch McConnell. But
right. Can you do a Kentucky roast?
Yes, I could. So I started taking requests after I did the series. So people were like, roast California in full. Because I only did that one line. So I did like a whole one on California, a whole one on
watched that
Texas.
one.
Yeah, I like that one.
Can you roast Kentucky in full? And then I will share it. Okay, I'm from Kentucky, so low-key, it's terrible that I'm asking you to roast my state. But
oh, man.
Because of Mitch McConnell, please roast him. And Daniel Cameron.
And I was, I was like the whole Breonna Taylor, Daniel Cameron thing. Whoo-wee!
You know, we've got great basketball, but
but
and
no,
horses.
I'm glad that you did that, and I would love to see you do other like roasts similar to that, just because it really is like it came up for us right around the time that like we were getting really into the thick of like all this voting and politics and election stuff, and it was just funny. It was a great kind of like, it was related to it, but enough to get us kind of like distracted and still laugh and poke fun at it and not be upset about anything, you know, like not take anything too personal. And
have you considered a roast of all of the presidents?
I haven't. That's a great idea. I like that because so the next thing I started to do was I started to do a series called Roasting Every Country on Earth.
Yes.
We were watching the very first one where you went on the UK, and I was like, that's exactly how I feel. I don't know what's in the UK and what's not. I'm sorry.
So I've had that stupid conversation with so many people. I had no idea that one. I almost wrote that pretty much on the spot when I was shooting it, because I was like trying to think like, how do I punch this up? I had a couple ideas. And then I was just like, why am I trying to beat around this thing I don't know? When the whole point is fuck you, make it clear, or you're the problem. So yeah, and that's what I love. This series was so fun to do because I don't travel around the U.S. If I travel, I try to leave the country. I'm inspired by culture shock, and so I just ignore it a lot, and it reminded me how super unbelievably interesting and diverse. Like West Virginia, I shit all over that place. And yet I really want to go there now. I desperately want to go to West Virginia because I read so much about it to figure out what the hell is in West Virginia besides cold.
The tourism. I didn't know that it was like known for tourism at all.
I didn't know that either.
I'm like,
it's not known for tourism. It just happens to be the largest economy, which tells you everything you need to know about West Virginia. But like that's how deep I had to get to find anything interesting about West Virginia. It was crazy, but it was really, really interesting. And like I said, I want to either teach people about the world or make them laugh. And if I can put those two things together, man, it was fun. Absolutely. So I appreciate you guys liking it. I had a great time making it.
No, thank you. Hilarious. Yeah, absolutely.
Do we want to ask another question?
I say let's go ahead and get into our predictions. We need to talk about what we all think is going to happen on Tuesday. Yes. Oh, Jesus.
Tuesday, yeah.
That's gonna be the
taco and tequila. No, it's actually it's tequila then tacos Tuesday.
I love that. Fuck the tacos, man. I need tacos.
Let's get into it. And I want to. So we're gonna give our predictions as to who we think is going to win, and then also a little information as to why we think. You know, and then we'll we'll all talk about what the hell is going to ensue afterwards.
Yep.
We'll each give our own. So
cool.
Did I kick it off?
I want to kick off.
Okay, let's start with some positivity.
Because so the one thing about me is that I am always optimistic, and it's crazy because even throughout this time, I've been cautious with my optimism, and that is just so not me. And I think it's only because of just like the crazy year that we've had. I'm in that space of where anything could really happen. And
Yeah.
I really don't want to get my hopes up or get my heart up if nothing's going to happen. But now, the last couple weeks, things have taken a turn, and I really am feeling a change is coming. And I really do think that Biden and Harris will win come Tuesday. Well, here's the thing. No. I don't want to say we'll win come Tuesday because I feel like it's going to be a couple days before we
Right.
really actually clearly know. But
Yeah.
I'm really believing in Biden going to be a winner by far, almost to the point of where it's kind of like there's just no contest.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. I feel like America's had a wake up call. I think we are in this place where we're realizing that we do not want to get back to where we've been. And I do feel like our youth is waking up and our
Yeah.
youth is becoming more educated, which is unheard of in just my experience. You know, the younger ones are the ones that are least likely to vote. And I really feel like we found our voices and we found our passion. That's the Gen Zs, you know, millennials, all that. So that's why I'm optimistic in this change. And I'm understanding that, Biden might not be the best Democratic candidate, but he is who our country needs right now.
Yeah. Well said.
That's my optimistic answer. Yeah.
I'm gonna let Justin go next. I'll follow.
My answer is, I'm with you. We're all with you. Nobody wants to make a prediction because we're all too scared to be wrong or to get any hopes up. You know, it's really hard. It's hard to engage in this in any way without feeling just emotional dread.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, do we trust polling like we did in 2016? That's the first question. And a lot of people will tell you that polling people, they fixed it. You know, they figured out what their problem was, and their assessments are going to be stronger than they were in 2016. Is that true? We're going to find out very soon.
Yeah.
But you are right. We're trending in the right direction. You know, Texas, more people voted early in Texas 4 days before the actual election, 5 days before the actual, and they're still voting. They voted overnight in one county. I mean, and that always trends Democrat. They can't tell you, nobody's counting votes, but they can tell you what party they voted for and whether or not they're a first-time voter or a regular voter. And if you look at all the metrics, you know, Democrats are far, we don't know who they're voting for, but they are far outvoting Republicans. And the flip side is that Republicans show up day of, and that's they always show up day of. They're
and
older.
That's the scary part.
I know. So it's hard to know. I know.
Yeah, because day of, all of a sudden, whoop.
So but part of the question is, if you're a regular Republican voter and you still show up day of, sure, but they were going to vote anyways. The question is, are new people coming out for the Republicans? And wouldn't they have voted early? Because why would they go with the traditional day when they're not traditional voters? So there's a lot going on. My buddy's a mayor of a suburban town in Pennsylvania. He's he won a couple of years ago over like a 20-year incumbent. He's an immigrant. He's born in Israel. He's liberal.
Just my buddy, the mayor, who beat all of these unheard of odds. Okay.
But he won because of suburban women, because he won that and he saw that too. That's how we won back the House in 2018. And suburban women are such a key to this election, and they are not fucking happy. And why should they be? Like, they're the ones that actually deal with so much of the nonsense garbage, the schooling from home, and the fears. They're the ones that take care of the kids more often than not. So like, and they're fed up. And he's like certain that Biden's going to win. And he also sent me some, this polling information about something like 20, 25 congressional races around the country that were like the ones in play, essentially some of the more contested elections. And it listed. Sorry, this is a long answer, but this is the only way I can intellectually engage.
Absolutely.
It listed where it was like 3% Republican or 10% Democrat in 2016, how they actually voted. So it was actually how they voted, Democrat or Republican, by how many points in 2016, and then it showed where the polling is now, and it was something like 22 out of 25 districts were trending more Democratic than they were 4 years ago. So if you look at that stuff, which is local polling, which is often more accurate because it's not national, it's a smaller sample size for a smaller community, larger sample size for the community. That bodes well for Biden and Kamala. So I do think they win the vote, but I don't think that matters. The problem is that the Republican Party has done everything you can humanly possibly do in public, in right in plain daylight
I
to try to
know.
suppress votes, prevent people from voting. They're
Mhm.
suing the shit out of so many swing states already to try to prevent votes from being counted. So 125,000 votes in Texas that got I don't know, it was curbside voting. I don't even know what that means. It doesn't matter. They voted, and they're trying to take those votes away and make sure they don't count. They're going to do everything they can to steal this election, and it's happened already in the
Yeah.
past 20 years
Yeah.
ago, and that was before we had a stacked Supreme Court and a completely corrupt president who knows he's going to prison if he gets kicked out of that White House.
Absolutely.
Have you seen that special or documentary called Dark Money or something like that?
I don't think I have.
They talk literally just about what you were just saying, what happened 20 years ago, and all that kind of stuff, and how that like affects it, and that blew my mind. I had no idea.
Yeah,
No
Gore,
idea.
Clinton Gore.
Yeah.
I miss being able to vote in that election. I was 17. I turned my birthday is November 19th, so I always missed turning the next age by like 2 weeks. So I was 17. I couldn't vote for Gore. Not that I would have swung the election. I wasn't in Florida.
That vote,
thank God.
hey, could have been that one vote.
Hey.
But I remember that stuff clear as day. And our generation. I'm the oldest millennial. I'm 30. I'm about to turn 38 years old. And my freshman year of college was 9/11. My mom lived in New York City. That was a very defining thing. Then the world, like my first big break in my TV career, got upended by the world economic collapse in 2008. So, and then I literally just had my biggest credit of my life on this Netflix show get shot down by COVID. So like, my entire adult life has been defined by failures of Republican leadership. And that's why I agree with you that the youth is waking up, because anybody that's younger than me has dealt with the same shit and sees that this is an unsustainable system.
Absolutely.
Where it is very, very clear who the culprits are, who are drowning this fucking country in their selfishness for money and power.
Ooh,
Yes.
I love the passion behind
Right.
it. Yeah, our government's extremely antiquated, and I just don't understand why we're doing so many things the same. It doesn't make sense. None of it. I have to be that person.
Not that you voted for him.
No, okay, let me explain myself.
Yeah, get it.
So what I want to say is that this is a forecast, a prediction. It is not how I voted or how I want it to go. I want Biden to win so bad. However, we saw what happened in 2016. Hillary Clinton was polling, very well in 2016. She had a 86% chance of winning. I don't even know on election day, because I watched it and I feel like PTSD or like trauma is not allowing me to remember, but I just don't remember if she was ever even like beating him on the television. Like it was neck and neck the whole night. And I was like, this is just a little too close for comfort for somebody that's supposed to be, have an 86% like chance of winning this. And then, so like basically it's based off of what happened last time. Like Biden is Hillary Clinton. A lot of people don't like Biden. A lot of people didn't like Hillary Clinton. They're trying to vilify him at every turn. And I just feel like anything is possible again. Like, I just really think that it could happen just because it happened before. And that's my main reason for like forecasting this, is that anything can happen. It's happened before. We let our guards down and got comfortable and we're like, yeah, but I just think that it could happen. There's a 50-50 chance, right? But I also think that on the flip side, in a way, I don't want Trump to win, but I have this weird like pessimism towards, if Biden wins, he's going to have to clean up everything that's happened in the last 4 years with the Republican Senate. Mitch McConnell.
If they win the Senate. If Republicans win back the Senate, which I think they will. I actually have no idea.
I was like,
I couldn't possibly tell you.
I just don't know. I just don't feel comfortable with anything. I feel like everything going on in the government right now is a little corrupt.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if it stays Republican, majority Republican, and Biden gets in there and has to clean up, it's going to be a lot of filibustering.
Yeah.
Like they're just going to be going back and forth.
And
nothing being resolved. Yeah. And at the end of the day, the American people are still without jobs, without an end to COVID, without, affordable or free healthcare. It's just like there's so many things that are going to have to be fixed. And it worries me that Biden's going to have to go in there, clean it up, kind of like Obama had to go in there and clean up Bush's mess. And then everybody's going to be like, we're voting Biden out in the next 4 years because he didn't do anything for us. And Trump might try to come back. be like, let me get my next 4 years. That's just me being.
If Biden wins, Trump will be in prison in 4 years. So I'm not
and
worried
that's
about that.
exactly yes. Yeah.
I mean, there's 20 open cases that are like where he in New York State alone, where he is legitimately like a primary part of these literal crimes he's been committing his whole life.
And this
That's
is why
like one of my biggest hopes.
No, really, I'm like looking forward to that too, because yes, I know that there are people that are just waiting, and that's why. And that's why. Can we switch gears now and talk about what might happen on the other side?
Sure. I think Trump's gonna win. I hope Biden wins, honestly. Like, that's who I'm wearing his t-shirt on Tuesday. He better win. If not, I'm cussing out every American that voted for Trump. I'm going out swinging. No, I'm joking.
I legit have a friend in Canada who's ready to send me a prenup and marry me so I can get the fuck out of here. I'm not kidding.
My
I'm
dad,
not joking.
My father's a Canadian citizenship. I'm gonna get.
What the fuck are you still doing here?
Get the hell out of here. I know. I'm trying to get my dual citizenship. We can become like
common law married.
Yeah,
we
get
can
it.
We're like 2 hours away. Let's go.
But yes, sorry, I didn't mean to rush you.
No, that's
your
okay.
answer, but like to
the
talk.
Answer's Trump.
Yeah.
We can move on.
But to talk about that on the flip side, if Trump does get reelected, I see him going after any of his like political opponents and trying to go after them as far as a court of law goes.
He's already. I mean, he's done it his whole president. It's literally all he's ever done.
And with him trying to like point, now he's pointing more and more fingers at like Biden and his family and what they've done, and y'all need to look at Biden and this and that and the other. I feel like if he gets reelected, he's going to push that even more and create this narrative that Biden's a criminal and get him arrested for whatever.
I find it so hard to believe that, Republicans who follow Trump would listen to him saying someone else is a criminal when there's all this evidence that he is
in his face,
a criminal.
Like, hello.
So it's like, I think that we should just take people being criminal out of the equation, or like what makes you make your decision, because it's like a criminal saying a criminal is like
right. Everybody's shit.
Everyone's a criminal.
Everybody's.
I don't know.
There's there's so many things to say what's going to happen. It's not going to be great. I mean, I think Trump is. His entire strategy right now is that he's going to hole up in the White House, and he's going to stall the results of this election as long as he can, and he's going to try to negotiate his way out of the White House, because I think he's going to try to negotiate a pardon in whatever way he can get it, because he knows the reality. I mean, I think you say the best. Your dream is that he gets arrested. My dream is that as soon as he leaves the White House, he flees to Russia, or because it just pays off everything we've known about him the whole goddamn time. Because I actually think there's a really good chance he would have to flee the country.
I agree. I totally agree.
Didn't he say that? He was like, if Biden wins, I'm leaving the country. And I'm like, cool, peace. Like,
yeah, get out. Good. I mean, you just show us exactly who you are. I mean, it's I think we're in a lot of trouble, because if he goes to somewhere like Belize, if he goes somewhere like that's like safe for him but not politically bad, like if he goes to Russia, he's an imbecile, but I understand why, because he's a fucking puppet. But if he goes like Belize, I don't know why I picked Belize, I guess because it's a lot of white Americans live there, and he tries to foment dissent to the government, he can rally his troops from overseas. And that's the thing, is like, even though he's left the country, that doesn't mean his people, they believe everything. They've ignored the 25 legitimate sexual assault cases that are still pending, including children. They've ignored the 6 bankruptcies. They've ignored the crimes. They've ignored that 7 people in his cabinet have been charged with crimes and gone to prison. Right. I mean, they were ignoring the fact that this is the criminal. This is the swamp, because he tells them otherwise. They're sheep that think they're standing up for democracy. They're constitutional originalists that are ignoring the Constitution. Like, it's just, the hypocrisy is so far beyond them. So I think that it's going to be bad, and I think it's gonna be bad if Biden wins. If Trump wins, he's gonna do exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Do you guys think there will be riots
either way?
Side?
I do.
No matter who.
I do. I'm worried about, in our state, in Seattle, I'm worried about the gun-toting people who have been threatening us about Antifa and all that stuff. Those are the people that I'm worried about. There are a bunch of super, super, super right Trump Republican conservatives in this state that feel like are ready to just come for us. And
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
You're literally who I worry about. It's Portland, it's Washington, it's Ferguson, it's Kenosha, it's where we've seen unrest. It's not Detroit. Detroit will be fine. It's 84% black. the cops are black. Like everybody's black. There's no Trump morons to create this fucking fictional situation where Antifa is starting a riot. So we have to show up with guns, even though no riot existed before we showed up. I had this guy I was supposed to do this podcast with yesterday.
The one that bailed on you?
That he bailed. He asked me to be on his podcast so we could
Scaredy cat.
Election, and then he fucking bailed.
Scary ass coward.
Such the most Trumpian bullshit.
Look, I'm talking shit.
I know, I love it. if you need a job as a hype man, I'm hiring you.
Hey, I got you. I'm one of the best, to be honest.
I believe it. But he was tweeting all day yesterday about while he was supposed to be talking to me, he was tweeting boarding up all these shops in DC because they know that if Biden doesn't win, the Democrats are going to smash the protest. And I was like, we need to defend. And I was like, dude, you're the problem. This is the problem.
Yeah.
It's because all you're doing is encouraging fucking dumb, crazy people to pick up their guns and cross state lines like that 17-year-old did in Kenosha.
Yeah.
Show up with an assault rifle, and when people are pissed, he shoots them and he kills them and he goes to prison. And why the fuck is a 17-year-old crossing state lines to defend people's property? Like, what are you talking about fucking property when there's lives on the line, there's healthcare on the line? You can't pretend like you stand for anything else except your own fucking political power when that's the thing you argue for. And it's infuriating.
I'm really glad that you say that. I want to also add on top of that they have done research and come out with statistics that the majority of the people that they've arrested from the protests, especially our local ones, are Caucasian, and they're not from Seattle. They're all from surrounding.
Yep.
And that's why though that I'm nervous. We tried to get out here and participate in a peaceful protest for George Floyd, and then was completely just overran, derailed by groups of people like that, and it was scary to be around because it was whoa, this is not what we're here for or what we want to do.
Yeah, it's interesting to fight for Black people and put them directly in danger. I'm sorry, excuse me.
I'm nervous that we're going to see similar to that, but more along the lines of if Trump wins, I think we're going to see Trump supporters in the streets acting reckless with the guns, talking about we told you, we're here to defend.
On poll day, election day, when people are lined up trying to get their last vote in in Democratic areas, Democratic states, cities, or whatever, do you think there's going to be some
Yes.
people that go out there how are you voting?
They're already being told to defend the poll boxes with their guns and
I mean, did you see what happened in Texas on Friday?
That's voter intimidation.
I didn't hear
what happened.
When Biden's campaign went to Texas because it's such a close polling identical.
I did see that.
When the Biden bus came into Texas, came into Austin from San Antonio, a shit ton of Trump cars surrounded it. They were waiting for it. And they tried to run it off the road. They slowed down in front of it, try to make it stop. They were brandishing guns. They crashed into an SUV. They literally called the cops, be escorted. They canceled the rally.
Yep.
Because these people were it was negligent homicide. It was attempted homicide. And
that
was before the election. So imagine how much they're going to feel empowered if Trump wins and how angry they're going to be if he loses. It's a lose-lose situation in a lot of
Either way,
places.
I agree. We're prepared for
for the country, it's a win. It's a survive or die situation. But in terms of the day-to-day life that comes afterwards, it's no matter what happens. There's crazy people have been wound up and dog whistled at for 4 years, and these fucking white supremacists are going to be out there, and people need to be careful.
Maybe we shouldn't get too drunk on Tuesday in case we need to
What are you talking about? I'm locking the door.
Rally
I'm
and
not going anywhere. I'm drinking my tequila and I'm going to be in the house. I'm not going nowhere.
Yeah, no, I'm a firm believer in my Second Amendment rights, and this house is very well protected.
Yeah, we already have our attack plan. You've got the gun, I've got the machete. You're our third roommate.
You shoot, you stab. You guys are ready.
We're ready for whatever. I'm not leaving this house.
Oh man.
I'm really disappointed, and I had something else to say to your point, but I already lost it. I'm just kind of running it over in my head, and it all just really scares me. What I wanted to say, we're in the middle of a pandemic and all of this. I just everything that's happened this year, on top of the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic to me
I
is
know.
just crazy.
Yeah.
Everyone should be in their houses
exactly.
unless they are getting groceries or working or I don't know what other essential business you need to be doing. But like going out to threaten people who are trying to, vote is not one of the reasons you should be outside. Like you are threatening someone's life while also risking your life. And so is
And they're
it really
probably
worth
anti-maskers
it?
at that.
100%.
Right. So they're also not wearing masks.
I'm trying
Yeah.
to understand, like, do we want to, like, I just, this means more to you than be able to live our free lives again and, like, getting rid of this freaking pandemic that is ravaging
It's what
the
you were
world?
saying earlier, Justin, about the selfish,
Individualistic.
individualistic.
It's
But
it's
they're
it's the it's the lack of leadership. I mean,
Mm.
look how confusing it is to explain like the situation we're in politically in terms of people trying to show up to vote, but other people are showing up to defend nothing with their guns,
Yeah.
but really just to intimidate. While there's no masks, but there's a pandemic, but we're peaking, but we're not because Trump declared mission accomplished. It's a lack of leadership. This is what a lack of leadership looks like. This
Yeah.
level of confusion, this level of abject failure. Dr. Fauci is literally being interviewed saying, I can't say what I think because I may lose my outlets altogether if I do. Trump is literally the suppression of our right to vote. He's literally
Mhm.
suppressing people's free speech to protect us so that he can stay out of prison. And anybody that supports him is a conspirator to this problem. So we need leadership. We need anybody to feign leadership.
Thank you.
For the love,
Yes.
anybody. Either one of you guys want the job, fuck anybody. Come on, like,
At
I'll
this
take
point,
it,
yes.
let's go.
yeah.
Yo, I was saying I'd take George Bush again.
Oh,
At
well,
this
no.
point,
I would
except
too. I
for
mean,
I
I don't
was
think
young.
he's not a bad guy. He was a horrible president, but I don't
Yeah.
think he's a bad guy.
That's
I mean,
not
this
smart, but
He almost died choking on some peanuts.
yeah, but
pretzels, I believe.
pretzels.
Oh,
I mean,
my
who
bad.
hasn't had a choking scare? Like, come
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. I mean, listen, he's not the smart. He's not the smart. He's not.
No.
Definitely not a dumb person. You don't get that far.
Being
Right.
dumb.
Eh,
Well, look
yeah,
at Trump.
Well, with one exception, yeah.
It's like,
But Trump. I mean, Trump is literally like a fucking needle in a haystack, and
Yeah.
I can explain exactly why that happened. But with George Bush, if George Bush had gotten sick with COVID, people weren't going to be out in the streets hoping he died. You know, there wasn't going to be a trending
No.
hashtag on Twitter that was avoiding saying, I hope he dies, because
Right.
people were getting taken off of Twitter. Like, we found back doors to trend on Twitter, excited about him being sick because he's such a piece of shit hypocrite. And that the irony was too great not to talk.
right.
No, that wouldn't happen if you're not a dictator. George Bush wouldn't have gotten that kind of hate. You know, I was
Right.
overseas in 2004, peak Iraq War,
Mm.
where I was in Southeast Asia. When people would find out I was an American, they'd be like, "Ugh, American." And now when I'm overseas and people find out Trump and people find out I'm American, they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, you're American."
Right? People
Like-
apologize.
Yeah, they were mad, and now they feel bad for us because they know
Yeah.
what a dictator looks like. They know that
Ah.
we're fucked. So if we don't get rid of this guy, we're fucked.
We're seriously
Um,
going to Canada. No, like 100%.
I've
Yep.
said it. I'm ready for Canada or Mexico, either or. Whoever's got their borders open.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, thank you so much for going over that with us.
Oh, thank you guys for having
yeah.
me. This is so fun.
No, of course. We're going to quickly recap everything, decide if it was the way or not the way. But
So-
before we do that, can you plug yourself and let everybody know where they can find you? Oh, yeah, right. I know you probably got a lot, so you take it away.
No, I'll make it easy. I mean, listen, I'm on my website's justinhermancomedy.com. On TikTok, I'm at Justin Herman Comedy. My Instagram's Justin_Herman. And those are the key ways to find any of the nonsense that I say or do. Come say hi.
Yes.
Awesome. No, I love that.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you,
so
guys.
let's jump in from the top and say our icebreaker was definitely the way. That
That
was
was dope.
fun.
Super dope.
Fun.
Yeah, I had a good time. I'm
It
glad.
felt like eons ago.
Yeah, I know, right?
I know.
What? Here we are. We obviously had a great conversation.
Yeah, really great.
And then our review and discussion of you
Mm.
as a comedian and a little bit more about you. Definitely the way. I think you are dope.
Yeah.
You are an awesome individual, and again, you're well versed and well rounded in what you do, and you are funny through and through. I think you are funny.
Yeah.
Definitely the way.
And I definitely like learn stuff as well. I
That
feel
part.
like we always learn stuff, but talking to you, I feel like you're kind of in the direction that like I would see myself. And so I'm like, I like everything that you're saying and all the tidbits. Gotta go get some packing squares now for my next
Yeah.
trip.
Putting us on game. An AMX card and packing squares.
Yes.
Our election day forecasts. I'm going to speak for my prediction. I'm going to say that's the way. How about you, Justin?
I actually love that we literally covered every possible outcome, so we can't be wrong. That's I
Right.
think it's what's the fucking way. What else is there? We covered the bases, so we can't get our hopes too high. That was genius and well planned by us.
Did I say anything about the electoral
college? We did
No.
not, but that's a whole nother
that was
can
really
of worms.
the whole reason I voted Trump for mine. Mine is not the way. I don't want that. Please,
Yeah.
please, Lord, I know we haven't spoken in a while. Don't let that.
Let's ban the fucking electoral. Let's abolish that shit as soon
Right.
as we can.
Right.
For fuck's sake.
I have an entire like rant about that
Oh.
I am like so passionate about, but we don't have time for it. It's just kind of like, why is it there?
Yes, correct. I mean, I can tell you why. It's slavery.
Exactly. And
Hey.
but okay, so we're gonna get into it really quick. I'm reading this
Yeah.
book that said
Yeah.
that in 2016, when Trump became president, that was the first year that we were not protected under the Voting Rights Act. Okay, because the southern states that it was mainly talking about, like Alabama, Texas, all of them, they said we no longer are racist or believe in racist views, or we don't practice voter suppression that is that is directly like trying to suppress minorities. So okay, if you're not racist, why do you need electoral colleges then?
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
Hey.
Okay.
You want to start to understand this country, you have to start with the fact that this is a country built entirely on slavery, and everything
Amen.
about our constitution is built on the backs of convincing the rich slave owners to be a part of our union. And then when we got rid of slavery, it was just legalizing slavery in a new way, and that has not
Exactly.
changed historically in
Exactly.
America. And if the more that you deny that, the more that we're going to have problems.
Every time.
Seriously.
Every time. Yeah, I argue a lot with people on the internet, and I've gotten to that point where it's kind of, I'm getting exhausted because I've been threatened to be sued this year. I've been told to get a life. I've been called like all kinds of names. And I'm like, this isn't
I
really
think
that-
you've been called a racist.
Yeah, I was called
She's
racist.
been called a racist.
I was.
I think I was called a racist yesterday. Hold on.
He's like, let me
You
go
guys
check.
mentioned Henny Dick at the very beginning of our conversation.
Yes.
That sketch from 50 Central, and I got a message yesterday on my my website. Name was Henny Dick, and the subject was just another racist Jew, and the message said your comedy falls under the new Jewish promulgated hate crime laws. And the email
Holy-
address is foff@yahoo.com. So I have a feeling that troll is deep down underground.
Literally.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's one thing to like be on a Finsta account, like on Instagram, and do all of that, but to go through the trouble and make an entire like fake
Email
Insta
address.
email address.
Yeah.
Come on, what a coward!
I know.
What a coward! I bet you anything
Yeah.
that was probably the guy that canceled on you. Same guy, I guarantee you.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, we're gonna get ready to close out this show. You guys, before we do, catch our feature on the Tyson's Vibe podcast, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, as well as our weekly recurring feature on Voices of Experience, every Tuesday morning live and replayed every Wednesday afternoon. Tuesdays 7:30 to 8. Darn it, I was wrong.
8 to 8.
Darn it! 8 to 8:30 every Tuesday, and from 4:30 to 5 on Wednesdays.
That's why I would put loosely morning and afternoon, because I was like, I feel like we might have said it wrong the first time we announced that.
just show up and wait for us.
Right,
Just tell
we'll
them
be there. You'll hear us eventually. And we want to say thank you again so much, Justin, for coming on today.
I appreciate you guys for having me.
Yeah, you gave us some much needed comedic relief. Again, I
Yes.
can't fucking talk.
Yes, we've definitely had a lot of fun, and I feel like we were able to kind of do our normal podcast
Yes.
vibe, like cussing, and we didn't take any breaks.
Yeah.
And the conversation was just amazing. So
Right.
again, thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys are awesome. I mean that you identified like the deep dive parts of my roast jokes that are like, to me, what was the fun and interesting part about it. So it just tells me that we are on the same level, and you guys are awesome and smart and educated and putting out good stuff. So I appreciate you. Also, you complimented me a lot, and that was your best quality by far in this podcast.
That's what we, buddy.
Yeah.
Trying to suck up, it's working.
Taking notes. Thanks to you. All right. Well, you guys take care. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.
As always, thank you so much for tuning into The Way. Catch you next week, same time, same place. Follow us on Instagram at The Way Jazz and Tay and on Twitter at The Way JT.
Don't be afraid to DM us if you have any questions or suggestions about the show. Until next time, bye.
Peace.